All right. How's everybody doing today? My name is Kyle. I go by K-Cuts in the industry. I'm a brand ambassador for the Anti-Broke Barbers Club, and I'm also a brand ambassador for Jack's Elite Barber and Beauty Expo. That's out of Jacksonville. Currently, I've been in the industry now for 4 years. I actually graduated from Coastal Pines in Waycross back in 2021. That was during a time where COVID was going on in 2020, crazy world out there. So I went to Coastal Pines instead of going to barber school at first, just so that way I could go ahead and get into the business. And then since then, I've also went through barbering school, so I kind of have a dual license at this point. So that's what I specialize in is fades, skin fades, clipper cutting, styling, all of that. That's really good for me and in this industry, because you ever go and see somebody go to the barber and they come out and their hair's not styled up and everything like that. A lot of barbers struggle with that. So by me going to cosmetology school, that really helped me with my shear work. Also helped me to be able to style the hair. So whenever a guy comes out of my chair, looks good, fresh, he's confident whenever he leaves, and that's what it's about. I've got some flyers here that I brought for you guys. Have any of y'all ever heard of the hair shows or been any hair shows or anything like that? So this is one that's pretty localized. It's out of Jacksonville. Like I said, I'm a brand ambassador for it. It's a very good show for the barber and beauty industry. They have a barber hall of fame. They have a lot of vendors and stuff where like clippers they're pretty expensive, right? So at these shows, you get deals on clippers, trimmers, shears, products, all kind of different stuff. So with that too, if y'all get interested and y'all decide to go to that, I have a discount code. It's KCUTZ, KCUTZ 10, and that saves you a little bit of money off of your tickets. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask.
School, like complete everything.
Everything. Cosmetology school took me, I had to take some core classes, so that was just a little over a year, and then an additional 21 credit hours to do a crossover program into the barbering to get that licensure. And depending on where you look at it at, the one nearest to me was Valdosta. So it's literally like 2 semesters. So everybody in here that graduates, you'll be a master cosmetologist. So when you have that, you do that crossover. And once you're done with that crossover, you take the licensure for a master barber. How many types of fades do you think that there are? 5? There's a lot. So y'all learned about consultations, right? And how important that is. So that is one of the most important things that you're gonna do before you ever start any service, because 90% of bad haircuts come from a consultation. And that is literally like asking all of the questions that you possibly can. Like, hey, what kind of haircut do you want? Well, I want a fade. Hey, what kind of fade do you want? Because there's literally so many different fades. There's a skin fade, there's a shadow fade, there's a high fade, a mid fade, a low fade, several different ones. So you kind of got to know what they're looking for. And if they have a picture, that's all the better. That makes it super simple, because he showed me a picture a while ago. It's like, okay, boom, I already know exactly how he wants it. Everybody knows their guards. Generally, I start with a number 4 whenever I start the debulking. Now, your guards, the main thing to know about your guards is going to be they all go into each other, right? So your number 1 guard goes into your 2 guard. Your 2 guard goes into your 3. Your 3 goes into your 4. The biggest thing with that is knowing your lever. So this plays a lot. What I like to use is JRL clippers. They're really light. They have a high speed, a low speed for them too, and they have clicks. So I never get lost in my haircut because I know what click I'm on, right? So if I know I'm at this point where I need to go, I'm halfway closed, I already know I'm there. So if I need to go a little bit higher than that, let's go down 1. So it helps to learn that a lot better. Because I used to get lost with the regular lever that comes on there.
I'm saying that's what I got a problem with, because I messed around and clicked mine on my clipper.
Yep.
And I don't know, like, if it's supposed to be up, it's supposed to be down, I don't know. So I just, wherever I clicked it, that's where.
That's a very good question, right? So this is the difference. So right now I've got a number 4 guard on my clipper. I have the clipper all the way up. That's the closed position. So this is going to cut at a true number 4, which is the equivalent of a 1/2 inch. So now if I have my clipper all the way open, that's gonna add a 1/2 inch to it. So basically it's now a 4.5. So which means it's gonna cut at exactly 1 inch. Yep. Oh, well, it's gonna cut less hair. So think about it like open. Open is going to cut less. Close is going to cut closer, right? So, yep. So if you picture like that and think about it like that, it helps to be a little bit easier, right? Got my number 4. I'm going to open it. As you're learning and you're starting off, I would always start with my clipper open first, because you're going to it's kind of like a safeguard. You're not going to go in and take too much hair off because it's going to be open, and you kind of see where you're going with it. So when I start here, I don't hear anything cutting, right? So I know his hair is a little bit shorter than a 4-guard open. And I literally come straight up off the head, and I'm staying right in that parietal ridge area. What I want to do is I want this to be my transition area right through here, right? So now I know that was right at about a number 4 closed. So I'm just going to go in with my 3 closed and start debulking this down. Not everybody's hair on their head is going to grow in the same direction, right? Because you got to kind of pay attention to that growth pattern. I look at the length of their hair. I've learned that when I debulk this, depending on the length, 90% of the time, I'm going to start with a number 4 guard. Because, like, say if his hair was a little bit longer than this, I'm going to come out with my 4 guard. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to come out right here, kind of like an ice cream scoop. Because I want this to kind of blend in. Because it's going to, probably those haircuts are going to be a little bit longer of a haircut. So you want something for this top hair to kind of lay on a little bit. So with this, I can go right through this with the number 3 because his haircut is pretty tight to the head. Now you're going to see in just a second, I'm going to transition from the use of my comb to a brush. Anybody want to take a guess why that is? Blend it? Sort of. Anybody else got a guess? That's correct as well. So like with this, I can control the longer hair with my comb, right? Same thing, right? So I can control this with my comb, and that's fine. I can feed it into the clipper. But once you go below a certain guard, 2, 3, 4, and up, I use my comb. Anything below my 2 guard, I use the brush because that brush is going to really get all that smaller hair out of your way. Because if you can't see what you're fading and what you're trying to blend, it makes it so much harder. And that's something else that I used to struggle with because I just leave the hair there and I wasn't thinking. So sometimes like my fade, I'd have a bunch of different lines and stuff in it. And once I realized to put the comb down and pick up that little brush, it made it so much easier. Ways that you can fade hair, and whenever you look at videos, you kind of have to get your technique based off of what feels comfortable to you. So what I do is, like, I go down to the hair shows. I've been trained by some of the top barbers in the industry out of Florida and stuff like that. So I've kind of taken like 2 or 3 different kind of methods that I like and put them all together, right? So it's kind of like if I'm watching somebody do something and I'm like, hey, I like what you're doing there. So I'll take that technique, but I like what you're doing with this part. I'll take that and put it together. You can kind of piecemeal it together because there's no necessarily right or, I mean, there are wrong ways, but it's really about making it comfortable for you. I messed up all my haircuts working in an actual salon. Because while I was in school, I became an apprentice just so I could work. And that's where I got all my experience. So, like, y'all said like an hour, 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to do a haircut. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed in my head because I'm like, man, this guy's probably like, man, let me get out of here. Like, what are you doing? But those clients that went through that phase of my career with me still come to me today and pay me really good because they like to see that progress. So, as long as you're having a good conversation with them and you've got really good customer service, the haircut is going to be it's going to be important to them, but it's also going to be, hey, it's a learning phase for that individual, and they're going to come to you forever. Like I've got, I think it's 7 or 8 clients that come to me that's how I started with them. Went from 2-hour haircuts to 30-minute haircuts, finally. So I always like to take 2 and in between like guards, have you like a little brush like this. It's kind of like the fingernail brushes that you use whenever you get to the nail section and just kind of get some of that excess hair off of your clipper. Because if you got too much hair built up on there, what's going to happen is you're going to start to leave that behind on the head. And then you're going to get lost because you might think, oh, that's a line that needs to be blended out. But it's not. It's just excess hair. So there's several different types of brushes that you can use whenever you're fading. I like this brush It's a knuckle brush, and it's super quick and efficient. I brought another pair of clippers to kind of pass around if you guys want to look at them. That's from a company called Babyliss, I believe is what they're called. They're kind of a little bulky with the cord on them. Y'all got those in y'all's kits? Yeah. So that one, that has a taper blade on it. So what that means is this blade at the bottom, it has a little bit of a heel to it. So that kind of helps whenever you're fading. So as you get a little bit more advanced, like this clipper has a fade blade on it. So it's specific for fading. And if you notice, like it's a little thinner right through the top, and it's a little bit more flatter instead of having that little bit of a heel at the bottom of it. So from his picture, I'm gonna start his fade about right here. And what I like to do is I like to start right where the ear is. And then I said something about cutting his hair or something like that. Yeah. So like in there, like you're cutting your mannequin. How many of y'all feel comfortable doing this right here? Pulling their ear out the way and stuff. Yeah. So so that used to be one of the most things I used to struggle with, because I'm like, God, this guy might cuss me out, like if I bend his ear out the way or whatever. But then I got over that fear really quick, because I noticed, like, okay, if I move his ear out the way to get right here to clean this up, they don't care. I'm like, oh, okay. Yep. It's just with us, I think whenever we get started and we're so new, like it's all new experiences for us, so it's kind of like weird for us to do that. And whenever you're using this right here, you have to kind of go, you may have, same thing with the clipper, you may have to go a different kind of way because of the way the hair grows. Now, anybody ever see, like, guys, they have like a little bit, I forget exactly what you call it, like the back of their neck, like where their occipital bone is, it kind of like folds a little bit. Yeah, I forget the technical name for it, but when you're cutting through that, yep. So when you're cutting in between that, all you need to do is just take your thumb and pull up a little bit, kind of stretch it. Because the last thing that you want to do is leave that hair that's in there. Because then whenever they touch the back of their neck, and they're like, man. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen people that will just leave that because they won't get in there all the way. And you can. I got this from a company called Stylecraft. It's called the Stylecraft Rebel. I love this one in particular than the other ones I've used because how loud it is. It's not because it's just loud. These blades on the inside, they're going at about 10,000 RPMs. So like they're super fast, so I can, in a salon setting, I can kind of just mow through this on the side super quick. It's a full shaver. The brand is Stylecraft, and it's Stylecraft Rebel. Full shaver, yep. So, is this uncomfortable to you, going through around your head? It's all the pressure that you use. So, like, and I've seen people that'll take these and they'll into somebody's head. Now, that does hurt. Like, you're going to rip their follicle off. But yeah, it doesn't take a lot, just literally like light pressure. And then all that hair that you want off is right out of the way. And a lot of it is that it's your pressure on how you're holding the clippers and what you're putting into it and everything like that. These, as far as the blades on them, they do kind of dull out a little bit. But what you notice with these whenever they go to dull out is it's not like a knife or something like that that's going to cut you worse. It just kind of stops cutting a little bit. So like instead of this being like really clean and smooth all around like it is now, you would see like some patches in it. Yep.
It's not pulling on.
But it's not pulling. And you replace it, you can get the blades, and then you can get the head of it, and this head just comes right off.
Is that what you do to clean it? You take that off and just get the hair out and clean it, or do the same thing?
They're kind of expensive on like what you got to do. Like this head by itself, like she said, it's like $12.
Yeah.
The blades are another like $12. And then whenever you buy this whole thing brand new in the box, it's $85. Yep. So that's not bad. Yeah. For Barbara Grammy last year for Positive Influencer of the Year. And in December, I was named one of Georgia's best in the barbering industry. So I do an event every December. It's called the K-Cuts Annual Christmas Community Give Back event. So I get some really good barbers from out of state that I'm good friends with, and I have them come up. I do free haircuts for the kids. I take up toy donations, and I give out free toys for the kids. I get vendors from all around the area to come out, kind of support their business, and I have like bounce houses out there, face painting, all kind of stuff. I give away like TVs, different stuff like that. Just really just trying to bring the community together and stop a lot of the division and stuff that's out there. Because my first year of doing the event, I may had 100 people. My second year doing the event, I had 275 came out, and then this past year I had like right at 200. So it's growing every year that I do it.
Where do you do it at?
I do it in Waycross. My first year I did it in downtown. My second year I did it at the skating rink over there, and then this past year I did it in the parking lot of the salon that I work out of right now.
So you get volunteers to come and do that with you?
Mhm.
To cut the hair with you?
Yep.
Where do you work right now?
I work out of the Flow Salon and Spa in Waycross.
Did you change your click thing or you just got on with your
Oh, so I put this section. No, that's my fault. We were talking. So this first section I put in with my clipper all the way open. So then I closed it halfway, so right in the very middle. And I went right through this section to the very middle of it. You don't want to take your clipper all the way up into the top of that section that you create, because if you do, you're going to raise your fade up a little bit, right? So going through it like halfway open.
It's like a little line there and it was going. So
Yep.
you gotta go
Yep. So see, it's like that.
I can't say, you don't have a guard on right now, right? You're
Nope.
just doing it with the,
Yep.
okay.
So, and I'm gonna come back around this way too with it. So,
No, I was just making sure, because my eyes are bad.
so right halfway into that section. And what I tell people is, to make sure that you completely get your lines out, start at below that section where that line is, go through that section. Because some people, what they'll do is they'll just go like this. You're gonna have a line, and you're gonna have a difficult time of getting that line out. So I go right from the bottom. You don't have to start all the way down here. I just go right there, halfway into that section. And the good thing about your clippers is, like, say, like right there's a little bit of a dark area there that I don't want. I can just open that up one click. I take my corners of the clipper, and I go up just a hair, and see how that lightens that right on up? And then what I do is at the very bottom line, I'll close the clipper all the way, and I like to take my corners, so like literally just that much of the actual blade, and I'm hitting right at that line. Anytime I do a skin fade, I have this stuff because I don't just cut my clients' hair. I provide treatment for my clients, and by providing treatment, healthy hair, stuff like that, that's important, right? So a lot of times you'll see when you do a skin fade on somebody, they'll get a little red, stuff like that, and that's because that machine is irritating the skin because it's so close, right? So what I use is this stuff. It's called Afterbuzz. If you want to take a look at it, it moisturizes, it keeps the skin moisturized, it puts nutrients back in it, vitamins, stuff like that. So that way, there's not going to be any bumps, there's not going to be any redness, nothing like that. It kind of has a cooling effect to it.
It has melaleuca, which is tea tree oil.
Yep.
Look, you ain't gonna have no bumps, no red. Go.
Does it smell like it? Yeah.
Yep, that smells good.
That cooliness, that tea tree oil, make it kind of.
Just slap some tea tree oil on
not. Yeah, they stay cool the whole time. What I like about these JRL clippers is the fact that some other clippers, when you're fading, the blade gets super hot. Like, there's a clipper called the Andis Masters.
Yeah.
Those get really hot. And whenever you're fading and you hit the guy's head, it's like, ooh, this is kind of warm. These blades here, and I'll pass this around real quick. It has their patented cool blade technology, which the blades are a little hollow and they have like air holes in them. So these blades, doesn't matter how long you use it, how many times you touch the skin with it, that blade will never get hot.